Hi, my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel, and today we're going to talk about allotment finances. And before I get really into that, I should just point out that these finances relate to the 3 plots that are in my family. So my wife's got a plot, one of my daughters has got a plot, and I've got a plot. And I collect the data for all 3 plots in terms of what we spend and what we harvest. And the 3 plots are really quite different. Jennie's plot is what we kind of consider our storeroom, so we grow the onions and the garlic and the potatoes and the brassicas and the squashes and all of those sorts of things. So it's really the kind of autumn winter storeroom plot. Debbie's plot is the kind of perennial plot, loads of herbs and trees, perennial kales and berries and all of those sorts of things, and it's very much kind of ornamental kitchen garden style. My plot is kind of a high intensity year-round growing space. So yeah, those are the 3 plots. Now, any discussion of finances really needs to be done in the context of what we're trying to achieve. So it's worth taking a quick look at that. So first and foremost, this is a hobby. So we're meant to be having, and we do have, a tremendous amount of fun. It also is designed to fill some time. So we want lots of activities to do, but no work. And I kind of class, the difference between, activities, stuff that you want to do when you want to do it, and work is stuff that you don't really want to do, or it's when you don't want to do it. So we're all about plenty of activity, and we look for about 16 hours a week on average, 4 times a week, 4 hours a day, that sort of thing. And the next thing is we're looking to make some savings on our food bill, so that's significant, and we do try to achieve that. In fact, we kind of committed when we started this whole thing out that it would be a zero cost hobby, and it's proved to be much better than that in terms of its savings. And we do try and deliver as much value to the community as possible. So we really focus on our community of friends and family, and we try and grow as much of their food as we can, as well as much of our food as we can. And those are synergistic objectives, because in order to feed ourselves and be self-sufficient in veg and fruit as much as possible throughout the whole of the year, you need to have big surpluses at other times, and then you've got to have something to use those surpluses for, and you can either compost them or you can feed your friends and family, and so that's what we do. And then really important to us is nutrition, so we try to get the absolute maximum nutrition by growing really nutrient dense foods, and some of those foods can be quite challenging. So some of the leafy greens and things like that, they're not the easiest things to grow. There's lots of pests and challenges in summer of growing those, and we also try and grow year round, and that's because we're self-sufficient in veg, and if we didn't grow year round then we'd be freezing stuff, and we really don't like the taste of frozen stuff by comparison with fresh stuff. There's really, in our minds at least, no comparison. You really want fresh if you can get it. And so those are our objectives. We want to have lots of fun, loads of great activities, save loads of money, create lots of value for the community, eat fantastic food, and eat it all year round. And so the finances really all relate to those objectives. We're quite happy to spend some money in order to achieve those objectives, and we're quite happy to save some money in order to achieve those objectives, but we want those things to be in balance. We're certainly not allotmenteers who try and do everything without spending any money at all. We're trying to achieve these objectives, not trying to save money. So with that context, we've harvested this winter, and I'm doing these finance updates seasonally rather than quarterly. So this is the update for December, January and February, and obviously we've not quite finished February, but I've got a very good idea how much we're going to harvest next week. So yeah, we've harvested a total of £800 worth of veg over winter, and I'm really pleased with that. So to put that into context for you, that represents 500 amazing winter meals, and I don't say amazing lightly, because I just can't believe how lucky we are to have this amazing sort of beyond organic food. and in addition to the food that we grow, we also barter for our backyard eggs. We don't have chickens ourselves, it's too much like hard work and they tie us down too much, but we swap some of the veg that we grow for eggs, and that's just wonderful as well. So yeah, 500 amazing meals. Now, to see why I'm so pleased with the winter harvest, you kind of need to look back to last winter's harvest, and then we harvested about 150 pounds worth of veg, and we were pretty pleased with that at the time. But this year we've harvested about 5 times as much, and so yeah, we're really pleased with that. And now we're getting the hang of this winter harvesting lark, getting our timings right for plantings, which is absolutely key. Now we're also starting to track how much of that food we actually eat. That's me and Debbie and Jennie and John and Robin, and so there are allotments, so we want to track how much of the total amount of food that we eat we actually eat ourselves. And so we're really pleased with that as well. So over 3/4 of the winter harvest we ate ourselves, so that's really fantastic. Now obviously that won't be the case all the way through the year, and just as a rough target, we're aiming to harvest something like 10,000 pounds worth of veg this year in total, and we'll see how well we do with that. But we're also hoping to eat about 4,000 pounds of that within our little family group. So yeah, I'm really excited by that. So no review of finances would be complete without also looking at our costs, and so I think we've spent £350 so far this year, and or maybe actually this winter, I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, £350, and the graphs that I'll show in a minute, they'll be up to date with the latest figures, and that's quite a lot. And we've consciously invested a lot this winter because the harvest value was just so great, and the savings were so great. You know, it was way more than we were expecting, so we bought loads more trees and more bushes, and you know, we've invested in more potato containers for potatoes and more compost to go in those potato containers, and some more seed varieties that we weren't expecting, just to try out some more stuff, and generally just had a great time. And as you can see on the graph, you know, our harvest value in terms of our actual savings has vastly exceeded our costs, and that's the way we like it. And as I say, we're not kind of committed to making a huge amount of money. We want it to be a zero cost hobby, but obviously we're not going crazy and spending everything that we save. But we also really like to compare the costs to the value of our harvests, and we really only track food that's been eaten. So we don't track food that's been harvested, we track food that's been eaten, and you know, we're just absolutely blown away by how much greater the harvest value is than our costs. And so pretty much it's a 10-to-1 ratio, so we're harvesting 10 times as much over the year as we're spending in costs to achieve that. So it's a 90% profit, and you know, we're just, you know, really pleased with that, and that kind of helps us make decisions, you know, in terms of what we're going to invest in, and we continue to invest. You know, last year we invested in the polytunnel. This winter we invested in securing a water supply for the polytunnel and all of the coal frames and hoop tunnels and things like that. You know, and we continue to invest in order to in order to achieve the objectives that I laid out earlier on. We're investing to have fun, have lots of nice high quality activities to do, and I can't remember the rest, but yeah, scroll back if you want to see. So let's just break down those costs and see what we're actually spending the money on. And yeah, I found this quite an interesting analysis. So what I did was I just built a little spreadsheet, as simple as anything really, listed everything that we spend our money on, and then and that was a worst case analysis. So it assumed that we bought everything new, didn't get anything, you know, second hand, nothing free, and we do often get second hand and free stuff. So that, you know, this is very much a conservative analysis, but you know, it's best to start off conservative. So yeah, listed everything and then allocated a life to it. So for example, I'm assuming that the polytunnel, the polythene will last 7 years, the structure will last 30 years, the raised beds will last 9 years, the wood for the raised beds will last 9 years, and basically went through that whole list and then got an average cost to keep all the 3 allotments going for each year. And obviously we've done most of the investment up front, but it's just, this is the easiest way to do the analysis. And so it's quite interesting now to take a look at that and basically, what are the big ticket items. So seeds are a huge proportion of what we grow, what we spend, and that's because for me it's just not practical to save seeds, because we grow something like 200 different varieties of fruit and veg, and so that's a lot of different seeds, and we keep seeds for multiple years, so it's not a huge investment, but obviously without seeds you got no harvests. So yeah, seeds are a big item. Nematodes were another one, and I've done a separate video about nematodes if you want to take a look at that, but again, that's kind of just consistent with my objective to have fun and spend my time on activities that I like, and I just really don't like prowling around for slugs. I don't like having to pick through the harvest for slugs. I don't like wasting masses of leaves because they've got slug holes in them, and I just like looking at beds that have got high quality veg in them and working with those beds, and slugs are just not consistent with those objectives, so, and obviously the impact on the value as well. So I'm quite happy to spend a bit of money on nematodes, and they do make a difference. It's not perfect, there's no perfect solution for slugs that I found anyway, but nematodes do make a difference, and making a difference is what it's about. So we spend a fair amount of money on the rent, but basically 1 week's winter harvest pays for the rent, so we're quite happy with that. We also spend quite a lot of money on manure, and we do get free manure delivered to the site, but there's never enough, and since we're harvesting such a lot of value off the plots and making such a good profit, it kind of seems a bit unfair for us to take a lot of manure from the communal dumps, and as a result we buy it in, and it's essential to maintain the fertility of the beds, unless you can get alternatives like wood chip, and you've got space to compost that wood chip for a couple of years, and we just don't have that space. So manure it is for us, and that's a mixture of well rotted horse manure and spent mushroom compost, and of course we also generate all of our own compost as well, which a few cubic meters a year, but that's nowhere near enough for the 3 plots. What else? Well, we'll need a new shed, I'll need new polytunnel fabric, fleece and nets and things like that. Obviously the raised beds will eventually need replacing. We do buy some amendments, seaweed meal and rock dust and lime and a few things like that, and also some pesticides. We only use organic pesticides, so the insect soaps and pyrethrum very occasionally, but that's on the list. Multi-purpose compost, seed compost, and obviously trees and bushes and things like that don't last forever, so they'll eventually need replacing. Ideally, I'd graft my own, and I've started doing that. Seed trays, tools, all that sort of thing. So it's a pretty comprehensive list of what we are spending our money on, and I hopefully found that useful. But one of the things I found quite interesting just looking at the winter finance figures is that all of the costs for the whole of the year are easily covered by the savings on our food bill just in winter, and obviously winter, there's no comparison between the harvest values in winter and spring and summer and autumn. So yeah, so I mean, we're really encouraged by that. I think we've got the balance right in terms of spending and value, and yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with this finance update. I'm happy with the way that everything's going, and I'll see you soon.